Welcome to the Sports Lounge, brought to you by the Sportsbook at WaterView Casino in Vicksburg. Here are your hosts, John Wiener and Ray Coleman.
Welcome into the Sports Lounge, Ray. It's a huge college baseball week, and no surprise, Mississippi is the state at the center of it all.
Not shocked at all, man. The NBA Finals are also taking center stage, and NFL camp in the air a little bit, right?
Smell those pads clacking already. Look, this week's Deep Dish, we're going to get into RJ Hampton's decision to go overseas and bypass the NCAA. Talk about that, what that means, and a little summer fun in Table for Two.
Of course, we're going to have game time. John Wiener,
The madness continues.
Winner last week, right? Let's see if he can keep the swag going. And speaking of swag, we got my man Scott Berry, head coach of the Southern Miss baseball team, fresh off a Conference USA tournament win. So excited to have Coach on, man. We're going to get some good perspective looking ahead for the Baton Rouge Regional that the Golden Eagles play in.
ISO Joe in here, Hackin' Hank, Josh the Juice, and Ray, let's get into the starters, and let's start with college baseball here. And, you know, we talked about on the Sports Lounge last week, we knew Mississippi State was in, and our eye was on Ole Miss and what they would do, and Southern Miss, you talked about with Scott Berry, was out of this thing. They weren't an equation. It was win and in. Ole Miss went to the SEC tournament and made major noise, got themselves a host regional, and Southern Miss goes and wins the darn thing. So once again, we got three teams in the Magnolia State in the center of the NCAA tournament.
And you know what a difference a week makes, man. You know, when I sat here last week, I said Ole Miss needed to find a rhythm, and boy, did they ever. They didn't win the whole thing, but they found their rhythm and gained some confidence, and now they're hosting a regional. It's exactly what you would want, whether you're Ole Miss or Vandy, you want to host a regional. You know what I mean? So they got exactly what they wanted out of the deal. Shout out to Southern Miss to the top. I am.
I know you were excited about that.
But just the fact that they would get in there and grind, such a Scott Berry team, maybe not the most talented team that he's ever had, but the fact that he will go in with his squad, handle business, win another Conference USA title, third in 4 years. Best product that he's put out there in quite a while. And Mississippi State, they're fine. They got the national seed, and that's all that mattered for them.
Yeah, it's a talented Southern Miss club. I mean, remember, this is a group that was leading the CUSA going away until they lost their last three series. And we'll talk with Coach Berry, like, what was the mindset, right? When you're in all season, and then all of a sudden you take it on the chin for about the last month. And now you got to win the conference tournament. Real quick, any team you feel really good about or you know for sure? I mean, obviously, I think you'd have to start with Mississippi State playing at home, but you know, Ole Miss is a team that can beat anybody.
And man, I was just gonna say that as much as I'm a Southern Miss guy, I really do feel like Ole Miss has the best rhythm going in too, because they had to face giants to get in there. They battled with Vanderbilt, took a walk off for them to win that you know SEC tournament. So I just feel like even with the L that they took in the championship game, Ole Miss truly does have the best vibe, as I like to say, going into the College World Series tournament, man. And here we go. At the end of the day, you get to play at home. You get the friendly confines of sleeping in your own bed. I know we don't think that's a huge value, but it is, man. They get a chance to play at home in the first game.
Yeah, both teams playing at home. Southern Miss going to Baton Rouge. We're going to have some cool. Your boy's going to go to all three of them.
Nice.
We're hitting two in one day on Friday and then going to Baton Rouge on Saturday. So stay tuned for that here at Bash Brothers. Ray, you talked about going through giants, and that's what the Toronto Raptors are going to have to do against Golden State. Kawhi Leonard comes from Texas to Canada in a pair of Converses and just wrecks the whole Eastern Conference. I mean, he just destroyed the Celtics franchise outright, you know what I mean, and takes down Milwaukee in 4 straight games. So I'll put this question to you simply. On the other side is the Golden State Warriors. Can the Raptors even compete in this series?
So the Raptors have a top 5 player, no doubt. Kawhi has proven that, that he belongs in that conversation, right? At least that. I totally agree with you. They have home court advantage too, believe it or not. I mean, the Bucks had the best record. They took down the Bucks. Now the Raptors have the best record, so they're going to have home court advantage. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, you better hope KD doesn't come back. As much as I would like to see the Raptors in that reign, I just told you they got one. They got all-time greats over at Golden State, man. And so at the end of the day, you have to understand what you're up against, and the Warriors aren't going to be laid down easily. If you're going to beat them, it's going to take 7 games, and you're going to have to put forth an historic effort to get it done.
The more that I think about this conversation, like I was like, Toronto has no chance in this series. And we said in the Eastern Conference, either one who won, Milwaukee and Toronto, has no shot. But if you look a little deeper, like, you think the Raptors can compete. And we've been asking the question, was it more likely they get swept or they win 2 games? And I think it's more likely that Toronto really makes this a series. I'll give you a few things. These 2 teams played twice this year. Toronto beat them both times. I know that Golden State, like, They don't care about the regular season, and the regular season was a lot for Toronto this year, but it's not like they can't do it.
Sure.
You know, if Golden State had won those two without caring in the regular season, you'd say Toronto really has no shot. But they beat them in there. You remember with Kawhi Leonard, right? He's a top 3 player. I mean, we've talked about he is the best two-way player in the league, and he is the closest thing we have to LeBron James in the league right now. We saw what LeBron single-handedly could do against Golden State. And Kawhi for San Antonio, when he was hurt in 2017 against the series, like that game 1, he dominated against Golden State. If you want to have one player that you say he can guard 4 or 5 guys, offense, defense, the whole full court, Kawhi is that dude. And finally, and Hacky Hank's telling me to wrap it up here, man. But like this is a big one for me because Toronto is kind of like the team constructed to beat Golden State. They have a great front court that I think Golden State will have some problems with. 2 bangers in Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka who've been there. That's the weakness for Golden State. Kyle Lowry plays big. You know, like Portland played small. They played Golden State's game. I think Toronto is constructed to give the Warriors a better series than people think. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go 6.
I hope you're right. Again, I'm a huge fan of Kawhi Leonard. He is a true cyborg, as Charles Barkley called him, but at the end of the day, he's facing all-time great talent. If he can do it by himself, he'll go down as an all-time great. But at the end of the day, man, Steph Curry, KD, Draymond, Klay Thompson, Hall of Famers, I just think they take it.
Well, look, in the professional world, NBA takes center stage, but NFL camps, OTAs, and mini camps are all happening during this week. Before we get to the sports lounge next week, OTAs and mini camps will have happened. So what I want to do is we're in the lounge. Yeah. Like this is a big friendly community. We want everybody in the lounge.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I mean at times, it's all's fair, right? And friends, I don't know, whatever they say. So let me ask you this: for the Dallas Cowboys, your squad, we're gonna make this like a squad thing. Like, what's the big question or the big storyline for the Cowboys as they open up camp this year?
You got to find some depth on the defensive line. DeMarcus Lawrence is out, torn labrum, going to have surgery, so he's going to be out for an extended amount of time, maybe up until training camp. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you got to find depth. So they brought some in with Quinn and some other guys in the draft, but you got to find guys that can consistently disrupt the line of scrimmage, because that's where it's won and lost, regardless of whether we say the quarterbacks and the skill players. When you control that line, you can do some good things. With Dak, you just want to see development. Obviously, here in Mississippi, everybody knows that Dak is the guy, but you want to see development because he's going to probably get $30 million a year. I don't know if he's worth that.
He's going to get it.
But he's going to get it regardless. So you hope that you can get your return on investment at him studying and growing. Zeke, you know what you're going to get. The skilled players between Amari Cooper and these young receivers, you know what you're going to get. The defense is there. You just need to see that development from your quarterback and the defensive line.
I'm going to give a shout out to ISO Joe here and bring the Colts into this because we talk about the Colts a lot and have for a lot of different reasons. I feel like Dallas and Indy are kind of on the same plane, which is like they've been building a young team and building their roster to a point where you look at Dallas and you look at Indy, they're one of the best rosters in the league. And it's kind of like, this is the team that you built to win with, right? You know what I mean? Like, you have your quarterback, you have your skill players, you've retooled your defense. I feel like Indy and Dallas both are sort of like, 9-10 win clubs the past couple years, and they feel like it's now, I won't say now or never, but now is the time for the Super Bowl.
No, but you bring up a good point. At a certain point, you got to say, when have we gone from building to now starting to compete and make that run? You know what I mean? You can only build for so long. After a while, those 3- and 4-year players become 5 and 6, and then you're saying, hey, the career is almost over. You know what I mean? What's the next step? So I totally agree. Meanwhile, with the Saints, kind of tell me what the next step is for you guys.
Well, in the opposite vein a little bit with the Colts and the Cowboys, we know what the Saints have been through the past 2 seasons. Like, that was their team, like, we're going to win now or never with Drew Brees, and you had the Minneapolis Miracle, and then you had the pass interference call that wasn't last year. I mean, you can't have a team that was more ready to win, that played better football over 2 seasons, and also come off more heartbreak than the Saints have. We wondered if they could get up off the mat last year, and they did. Can they do it yet
3 times.
Again.
3 times.
Yet again. Wow. The other thing to pay attention to is this is the first Saints team in a long time without Mark Ingram. I've always been a believer that I don't think Ingram was as appreciated, how good he was, what he meant for the Saints. Is a guy they traded up for in the first round that did nothing but rush for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns pretty much every year. But the big piece is it's going to be a different deal for that offense and Alvin Kamara this year. People say, I'm ready to see Kamara tote the full load. I don't think so. Yeah. Like David Duval said about Tiger Woods, like, no, you don't. Like, that's not what you really want. It's interesting when you look at camp, like how the offense will look, without Mark Ingram, and what it will mean for Kamara.
Yeah. What's it going to look like for Ole Miss without Ross Bjork? Mm-hmm. He's taking
how about that? Big news.
He's taking the director of athletics job at Texas A&M. Man, the SEC is a revolving circle when it comes to money and positions. What does it mean for Ole Miss? And more importantly, what's Ross Bjork's legacy after he leaves Oxford?
So I think when you look at Bjork's legacy at Ole Miss, there are a lot of things that matter in terms of what ADs are judged by, and then there's the whole NCAA investigation and the way they handled it. When you look at what ADs are expected to do, it's raise money and it's make hires. Ross Bjork doubled the revenue of the Ole Miss athletic department, Ray, from when he got there from, I think, $57 million to $117 million. That's what you're judged by as an athletic director, and that's why he's at Texas A&M, because he makes money for your athletic department. And we know how important that is in College Station in terms of making money in terms of the wins and losses. And the second thing is making good hires. He hired Chris Malloy. He revolutionized the golf program. He hired Mike Smith, who we've talked about here. What he did with the softball program was killer. And Kermit Davis had a pretty darn good start. He had some not as good hires with Matt Insel, the women's coach, and Matt Luke. And you talk to people inside the Oxford circle, there were different takes on whether Bjork wanted somebody else and was sort of forced to go with Matt Luke. But Ray, Bjork will be remembered and is judged by Ole Miss fans with how they handled the NCAA investigation that started before he got there under Houston Nutt and was a hire that he didn't have any part of in Hugh Freeze. Now, did he handle the investigation well? No. Was it a joke at times in terms of how they dealt with the NCAA and the PR charade and the famous press conference with him and Vitter and Freeze together and Bjork's sort of fanboy attacks on Twitter? Was all of that like a negative and how he will be remembered by a lot of Ole Miss fans? Yeah, but the reality is inside athletics and with what athletic directors are tasked to do, Bjork did a really good job at Ole Miss.
And it's like you said, it's why he's over at Texas A&M now. I'll give you a few more things that they're judged on. Maybe not, but I think this is pretty awesome. Highest APR scores, GPA, and graduation rates in the history of Ole Miss athletics. Now, that's something that we should all celebrate, right?
Absolutely.
They will not remember him for that. Point blank period.
That's a good point.
They will not remember him for that. $94 million pavilion, that happened under his watch, okay? $65 million for vault renovations. That's under his watch. Those are things that he should be remembered for, but we go back to people don't always remember what you say or do, but they always remember how you make them feel. Yeah. He's gone. The only thing they're going to remember is that, man, our football program was really good, but we cheated to get there. Yeah. All right? And I know that's unfair.
Not just cheated to get there, but how they handled everything in the wake of it.
And I know that's unfair, but perception in this case is going to be reality. He's going to move on to Texas A&M. He's going to do good things there, too, because his pedigree is real. The guy can make these things happen, but unfortunately, he's always going to be remembered for scandal.
And we're going to talk about later in the show in our parting shots, which is a new segment here in the Sports Lounge that I love, about, how people are remembered and really how your legacy is defined, fair or not, the reality of this situation. Let me just say this for Bjork and Texas A&M and all really major college athletics when it comes to the NCAA. Ray, all bets are off when you deal with the NCAA scandal. Whether you're a CEO type, whether you're a former coach, whether you're somewhere in between, no one is equipped to deal with all of the gray, all of the charades of the NCAA in terms of like handling a legal investigation, dealing with sort of crisis in terms of PR. Like if you, all bets are off. Like Bjork, Vitter, Freeze, none of them were qualified to deal with what was going on and all of the weirdness that is NCAA investigations. You better hope and pray as a college president that the NCAA doesn't come, because it doesn't matter who your athletic director is. There's no blueprint for that.
Hey, look, nothing for me to add to that heat, because at the end of the day, facts are facts, man. The things that he did for this university should not go unnoticed because they're better for it long term than they were before he got there. Unfortunately, he will not be remembered for it because at the end of the day, his name will always be associated with scandal. And that's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Well, speaking of heat, we got some summer topics coming up in Table for Two. A lot of really good, hard, tough sports choices as well that we'll get to, and our deep dish, really good conversation. I know everyone in here in the Sports Lounge is excited for Scott Berry as well, Southern Miss head coach, coming up. Stay with us in the Sports Lounge.
Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media and share, like, and follow the show to enter to win a one-night stay for two at WaterView.
Hanging out in the Sports Lounge, he's John, I'm Ray. You know we got to give a shout out to the crew, man. Hack and Hank, Josh the Juice. Who else we got in the building?
ISO!
My man.
ISO Joe on the ISO Cam, which is going to come in shortly. And we want to make sure that everybody joins us here in the Sports Lounge. So make sure you share the show with all your friends. And we got a new promotion this week. We got with the folks at WaterView, Ray. We're Loctite over there. WaterView Sportsbook and Casino, our charter partner here at Bash Brothers. Tweet, comment on whatever platform you're on, what you like about the show. What was your most favorite part of the show? And the best tweet that we get or Facebook comment, that will enter you to win into our weekly giveaway. So again, we want to bring everybody in and get people talking about the Sports Lounge as well.
We're trying to get y'all into the vibe of winners winning. Listen, he got a little taste last week. I'm going to take that back from him. I just wanted him to feel it. I want you to feel it at home too. So be sure to like, share, whatever you need to do so you can be a part of the Winners Win movement.
Yeah, you see that promo on your screen right now. Battleship Game Time coming up later. We'll have our parting shots as well. Scott Berry will join us. But let's get into our deep dish right now, and we'll bring ISO Joe in on the ISO Cam. And guys, this is a really interesting one for me that is loaded for like it's a loaded deep dish, you know, just like we like it to dive into. RJ Hampton, 5-star recruit out of Texas, one of the best players in the entire country, makes a monumental decision that we've only seen a couple times in the history of basketball, but it wasn't quite what this is. RJ Hampton says, I am not going to college. I want to be a pro. He's bypassing college basketball and going to play in Australia with the New Zealand Breakers, Ray. Your thoughts on that just initially?
My thing is, and I don't want to act like it's not a big deal, but good. Because at the end of the day, he's a 17, 18-year-old, and I think sometimes we forget in real life, people make real life decisions. Listen, where I come from, everybody doesn't go to college. And I'm not telling that as a story about me personally. I'm just saying people join the armed forces, people pick up a trade. College is not for everybody. This young man banked on his talent. Okay, he just said, I'm good enough to where I can start making money now. And then when the NBA comes to calling, I can make more money then. That's called a grown man decision, and he decided I don't need to go to college. Listen, when you and I went to college, we were supposed to better our skills, right? To build our skills so we could seek and secure employment. Well, he's already done it.
Yeah, but I'm not so sure it's that easy or complicated, and I'm not sure that that's the right thing to do if you're trying to develop your skills to go overseas. But ISO Joe, like, let's hear. I mean, we have the actual statement from RJ Hampton. And I thought this was pretty interesting, Ray. What ISO Joe's going to cue up.
Yeah, so RJ went on on Get Up this morning, and he had to say, my dream has never been to play college basketball. My dream has always been to get to the next level and to play in the NBA. I think the best route for me is to live like a pro and play with grown men every day and not have to juggle books and basketball and just focus on my main goals.
Listen, man, let's just be real for a minute. How many kids do we know? Forget the top 5 prospects every year. Just the guys that we know that go to state and Ole Miss and Southern Miss and you name it from this state and out of state too, that don't give a damn about going to class and those books that he's talking about. They are there to hone their skills to be a professional. Now, the chance that they take is that when you go play overseas, your stock may drop, you may get injured, or you might just be trash, and the NBA figures that out. And you maybe go second round or don't get drafted at all. But that's a grown man decision. We all deal with that in our daily lives, right? So I think it's just a wake-up call, more or less, that these young men are starting to figure out their value. And, hey, let's go ahead and get it done now rather than go to college and play a game that we just spoke about earlier as being a complete joke.
One of the problems here with this is the NBA rule and because people get this wrong, right? They're like, oh, this is the NCAA. The NCAA doesn't want the one and done rule either. They'd like them to have to go to the NBA, but the NBA says no. Joe, what stands out to me, one, is, again, it seems so drastic, like one or the other. Your option is to either go to college or go play in New Zealand. Like, there's this whole thing like the G League, and it feels like there's a middle ground there.
Right, and they got to figure something out with the G League because it almost feels wasted right now. You know, it is supposed to be the minor league of the NBA in some sort of respect, and so why not use it for that? Let these kids come out of high school and go actually develop in these G League teams. And they're going to have to figure out some way to fix this problem because, yeah, you're right. You don't want to have a either or where kids have to go overseas to go play.
Yeah. And I would just say this, though, and I'll put the question to you. Yeah. I think that we've seen in the NBA, and we got a one-on-one coming out with Lindsey Hunter, I think maybe end of this week, maybe next week, we'll see when it goes. And he talked about C.J. McCollum and Damian Lillard, like the Portland backcourt, how much they benefited from going to college and developing their skills in the college state. And I think that now, sometimes you can go to college and it can blow up on you. Like, we talked about this with Malik Newman in this state a lot. And, there was talk that maybe he would go overseas and not go to college at all. You look back what happened at Mississippi State, like, there's a lot of other factors in play that can totally change on you in college, and the bottom can fall out of you, just without even on your own accord. But I think we've seen a lot in the NBA, how important it is and how beneficial it can be for great players to go and play 1-2 years under a really good coach, at a high level of basketball. Like, I'm not so sure it's that simple for RJ that you're automatically, because you're playing against pro players in New Zealand, that it's better development for the NBA. I'm not sure I buy that.
And I don't necessarily buy that it's better development. I just buy that the kid looked at his options and said, I don't want to be a college student. I don't want to go to Duke or Michigan or what have you and say, I want to go and be a college student during the day, but that's not what I'm really here for. I just want to play the basketball. He's doing it. Again, that's a grown man decision, and respect to him. He has to now live with the consequences. But if you ask somebody like Malik Newman, this is what I thought about, and it brings me back to the very premise of this conversation. If Malik could do it all over again, top 5 guy, kind of like RJ, right? McDonald's All-American. Had he been able to go and play pro basketball overseas, does his outlook look different rather than going to Mississippi State? Man, I really think so, because at the end of the day, the college game is slower than the NBA game, and Malik's game, in my opinion, at the time, fitted a more up and down NBA pace where it might have projected a little bit better. They got to figure it out. At the end of the day, this puts the NBA and the NCAA
Well, the
on
whole
notice.
system is broken. I think there's a lot of things that this exposes, guys.
And it just puts them on notice to simply say, you got to figure it out. I agree. We need a plan in place to say guys can go to the NBA or go to the NCAA and develop like a C.J. McCollum or a Dame Lillard, because, there is value in that in building your game. But if they go, they got to go. And they got to stay for a certain amount of time. Or if you're going to be an adult and go straight to the NBA, they need to allow that too. But say, if you are not that good, it's on you. That's what called being an adult is. We all have learned that the good way or the bad way. Point blank, period.
Well, we talked about, going for development and that type of stuff, but let's not forget, money talks.
Yeah.
And you get paid overseas. He wouldn't get paid if he went to college.
Yeah, because these guys are just getting peanuts and, yellow sticky pads or handout bags for going to Memphis and Kentucky.
But they're not getting no $1.4 million that they'll get in New Zealand.
Fair enough.
And so there is something to be said for the money aspect that comes along with this.
And that's Hampton's point. A lot of it is like, and that's the thing about the college thing, and that's where the system is broken because, for the one-and-done guys, as talented as Hampton are, your Kevin Durant's and John Walls, you're in class for about 5 weeks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Let's be real.
You have to be in class, to be eligible for the fall. But as soon as basketball season happens for the one-and-done, they're not there playing school, as Cardell Jones famously said. I just think, we've seen this a couple of times. Emmanuel Mudiay, Brandon Jennings. Jennings famously had a good career. When you watch Mudiay today, you're like, this guy hasn't developed since he was a sophomore in high school.
Should have gone to college.
So, I'm not, I understand that, you have the right to, and, the good for the kid for, basically cutting through the nonsense and getting to the reality of it. I'm not so sure it's the best move. Like we'll see. It's the best move financially now, but like for the NBA long-term future, obviously there's 1,000 things to work out. But one question is, I'm not so sure this is the best move for Hampton in the end.
Only time will tell, and at the end of the day, like I said, it's a grown man decision. I respect that it puts a lot of people on notice. We'll know in a few years whether or not it was a good decision.
Well, speaking of tough decisions, it's that time. Everybody's favorite hit segment is taking off like wildfire virally. Make sure you share, follow, retweet, comment on all of our stuff. We want to bring everybody into the Sports Lounge. Table for two, ISO Joe. Tell us the game, and then what do we got?
All right, so it's table for two. I give you guys 3 choices, and you have to pick 2 of those choices to sit at your table. So first up, we got Packers QBs, and this is to honor, obviously, Bart Starr.
Sure.
So we got Rodgers, Starr, and Favre are our options.
Okay. So I'll go first on this one. I don't mind that. Brett Favre, because we're here in Mississippi, and if I do not pick Brett Favre, but no, honestly, he's a gunslinger, man, the most durable quarterback of all time, and one of the best too. He threw a lot of picks, gave up a lot of gifts, but at the end of the day, one of the most gifted quarterbacks we've ever seen. Bart Starr, I think any quarterback after Bart Starr should look back and thank him for what he did for the quarterback position. I think anytime you can make legends be quiet, sit down and listen, that shows your value. And a guy like Brett Favre will sit and would listen to Bart Starr tell stories. I think that in itself shows you the importance of his impact on the game. Mr. Bart Starr, Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers is awesome, but at the end of the day, what has he done besides win that one championship?
I'm with you all the way on this one. I think it's Brett Favre and Bart Starr. Like, I want legends. Like, I want that, like, cultural clout, like, at my table. And Brett Favre and Bart Starr had that. Like, Bart Starr was the, he's one of the toughest quarterbacks to ever play. And he was one of the first, like, great quarterback idols. He made that kind of, you're the quarterback face, the quarterback charisma, the sort of American, whatever it takes, we lead the guys kind of thing. Yeah. That's Bart Starr, and obviously Brett Favre, 3-time MVP. You talk about a guy that you'd love to have at your table for a beer and some stories, and also like his football status is truly one of the great gunslingers of all times. And I just think, like, is Aaron Rodgers' arm talent maybe one of the best we've ever seen? Yeah, but beyond that, I think Rodgers is a lot of times given, I won't say the benefit of the doubt, but like he's just not quite on that all-time level for me. Talented maybe, but there's a lot more to the position than that. I'm with you.
No doubt.
All right, let's move on. And we got summer swim as our next choice. So where would you rather swim? A pool, a beach, or a river?
So I'm not the best swimmer, point blank, period. So I would never put myself out in the open water, so a river has got to go.
You're not going with the river.
No, it's got to go, man. Sure. It's got to go. So pool where somebody can save me, and at the beach so somebody can save me. That one was real easy. Pool, beach, go ahead.
I'm not like the greatest swimmer in the world either. Like I'm pretty much doggy paddling and like treading water out there. And really because of that, I'm gonna go with like the best spots like to do other things like maybe drink and enjoy yourself like around and things. So I'm gonna go with the river because like you don't get to swim in a river much, but like when you do, it's a pretty special occasion. Like we're down by the river. I'm in a van down by the river. At this rate with this show, I'm gonna be living in a van down by the river. But I'm gonna go with the river because it's always, it's like a special occasion. And then I'm gonna go with the pool on the other side. Just because like the beach always feels like a lot of hassle, man. You gotta like, there's all kinds of other people out there. Like sometimes the water's nasty. There's no beach around here worth going to. Like I can hit up like 4 or 5 different people in the sports lounge, go have me a great day at the pool. And like, I'm a like drinking by the river kind of guy. Those country roots come out. So I'm gonna go with the pool and the river.
Man, I'm from the Northeast. I didn't even know that people swam in rivers, man. Come on, get out of here with that.
This whole combo for ISO Joe is just like blowing the mind.
Yeah.
All right, so Ja Morant just signed with Nike, and so we're going to do some shoe companies. We have Nike, Adidas, and Reebok.
I'll knock this one out first, and I'm gonna go with Nike because, like, if Nike's just they have the best shoes. Like, I love wearing Nikes, and Nike's Nike, with Michael Jordan and all of that legacy. But I'm gonna go with Reebok here, and I know that like Reebok, and I see Josh the Juice with the eyebrow raise. I got such an eyebrow raise, with Josh the Juice. But you know what's funny? It's interesting that we have this game right here, or this book right here in the Sports Lounge, and we kind of switch them out every week. Little inside thing on the Sports Sports Lounge. Reebok, for me, when you talk about the answer shoes and you talk about Allen Iverson and what that synergy meant and like how big that brand was, the answers and Iverson with Reebok. Iverson's probably my favorite athlete of all time to watch and was the most exciting guy. So I was never really like an Adidas, like it was like shells when I was growing up, you know what I mean? Like miss me with the shells. I was like, and Reebok Classics, like who could forget? Like Juveniles, like you know what I mean? The G code, T's, Re's, and Bows, man. Nike and Reebok.
I almost just want to leave it there. I'm going to give my take just for it. Nike, because it's Nike. You can't go against Nike. Respect to the Reebok, man, because at the end of the day, AI and Shaq too. Don't forget about Shaq. Yeah. He had the what do you call it? Shaq Oceans.
They were
Shaq.
awful
They
shoes.
were horrible shoes, which leads me into my next point. Adidas. They're not the ideal brand when it comes to basketball shoes, but they're starting to have some brand names that help push that market between Dame Lillard, when it comes to James Harden, even on the football side. Well, my guy Dagan,
and they're huge in golf too.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
Adidas
they're huge in golf,
big,
absolutely. So just for that alone, that they can span different sports, I would go ahead and say Adidas and Nike. Reebok, you can't have a seat at my table. Those are old people shoes.
No, it's not old people shoes, man. It's like we're in Jackson here. I'm going back to the Reebok Classic days.
And Reed, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We got the quote Juvenile. You know what I mean? T's, Re's, and Bows.
No doubt.
Oh man, it's always off the rails here at Table for Two in the Sports Lounge.
Bonus points for him, by the way.
What else we got, Jeff?
Don't forget Adidas has got the Yeezys and the Game of Thrones Ultra Boost. I mean, come on. They're hitting it big. Now we got some Supers spot, and this is obviously for college baseball, you know, with hosting. We got Starkville, Oxford, and Baton Rouge.
Man, this might have been the toughest one of them all, seriously, because I'm just looking at it from a bunch of different angles. Venues in general. The new dude is just one of the best places. Forget college baseball, one of the best college venues, period, in all of America. So it's tough, man. Oxford, you can always have a good time in Oxford, can you not?
Sure.
Obviously.
Especially in the night games.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Baton Rouge, Alex Box Stadium.
Yeah.
It's one of the premier venues in all of America. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
That's tough, man. I'm thinking the total package, right? I go to the game, enjoy a great venue, and then I party afterwards. So I'm going to go Oxford and Baton Rouge. Not that I do not have I don't want anybody from Starkville to just hit me up on social media and say you're a clown. I have a great time in Starkville.
I mean, you can do that anyways, regardless if it's Table 2.
I welcome that kind of stuff anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, man, anytime I go to Oxford or Baton Rouge, I have a great time. It's just not the same in Starkville.
I'm going to stay with the SIP in this one because Mississippi State, regional weekend is such an exciting place. Nowhere, they get a little sort of, I think, overstep a little bit and, talking about this, great baseball program, the best in the country with national championships, you know what I mean, compared to LSU. And, I'm a Mississippi State guy. So many of my favorite memories in Starkville were the regional weekends, and because really no one goes out for college baseball in Starkville, and I'll say Oxford as well because as you talked about all the fun that can be there for a weekend, the night games at Swayze especially, this weekend, Duty Noble will be at 12, there'll be first pitch at Swayze Field. I think Friday night is at 7 o'clock. Baton Rouge is fun. Alex Box is great. But, I'll go with Starkville and Oxford when you just talk about, the appreciation of the baseball weekend.
Yeah, that table for two there was probably the toughest one we've had. Because I'm telling you, you can't have a bad night in any one of those cities when you go to a baseball game in Starkville, Oxford, or Baton Rouge, especially in Starkville now with the new dude. I mean, that's one of the premier venues in all of America now.
Yeah, Southern Miss with a tough draw in Baton Rouge this weekend. I think we got one more here.
Yeah, we got college basketball higher, and we got Stackhouse, Howard, and McKie.
Ooh. So these are the NBA guys, right? So these are three NBA guys of our era growing up that got hired in college basketball. Juwan Howard, most recently at Michigan. Jerry Stackhouse at Vanderbilt, and Aaron McKie in Temple, former Temple player and been an assistant there. So which two you got?
So just by those names, three really smart basketball players in general. So you know the basketball IQ is there, and you know that they're going to be able to build programs. Juwan Howard has been thought of as a highly, sought after assistant coach in the NBA. So the fact that Michigan was able to get him, I think that's a huge get. And Jerry Stackhouse as well, man. Folks have been saying he should have been an NBA coach for a while. So just the fact that those two gentlemen in general have now head coaching gigs, I think that's big. I'm going to go with Stackhouse and Juwan Howard.
I like the Jerry Stackhouse call. I don't know about Juwan Howard at Michigan. I'm going to start with Aaron McKie at my table. You talk about a smart basketball player, that sort of role player type who you feel like can, transition and be that great player. That's who he was. And another shout out to those great. They weren't so great, but they were in the finals because of
exciting,
Allen
though.
Iverson.
That's for sure.
Those Aaron McKie, Sixers teams. Like I remember watching Aaron McKie so much. But one reason why I like Aaron McKie compared to Jerry Stackhouse and Howard is he has immediate experience at the college level with his program. Jerry Stackhouse, NBA assistant, been in the G League. Juwan Howard, NBA assistant. I know he played at Michigan. McKie played at Temple. He's been coaching at Temple as an assistant, and now he's stepping up for the job. But I'm going to blow up the table for two, and I'm going to bring in another choice. I'm going to go to Itabena. Let's not sleep on my Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils because they also hired a former NBA great, a two-time NBA champ from right here in the Jack, Lindsey Hunter. We're going to cross all of it out. I actually think Lindsey Hunter is going to do big things at Mississippi Valley State. Relatively speaking in the SWAC, I think Lindsey Hunter is a phenomenal hire for Mississippi Valley State, and I'm bringing Lindsey on my table along with Aaron McKie.
And you know what? You mentioned role players like Aaron McKie. Lindsey Hunter
was that guy?
Playing a role. Role players tend to be way better when it comes to coaching because they're not superstars.
Right,
and
it's
they
not
don't,
like just do it like I did it.
and just do it like I did it, right? They grind, they learn the game, and you're absolutely right. Lindsey Hunter is I really do believe he's going to do phenomenal things at Mississippi Valley State. His basketball IQ, another one that is through the roof, champion. He'll get it done for sure, man. So scratch me out too.
That's what I'm talking about.
We're gonna wreck the whole thing for Hack and Hang behind the scenes
It's
right
a win
now.
for the sit. That's right. A lot more work for Hack and Hang, but we're cool with that. Be on the lookout as well for my exclusive interview and a one-on-one with Lindsey Hunter. There was so much great stuff in there, man. You talk about quite a story and what a wealth of basketball knowledge. Interesting with Lindsey, again, played with the Lakers team, was the sixth man with Shaq and Kobe on those dominant Lakers team, and then Ray joined the Detroit Pistons and beat that same Lakers team with the Pistons in 2004. So make sure you check out for that one. Lindsey Hunter, big name in Mississippi. Coach coming up, Scott Berry as well, Southern Miss head coach. They're red hot to the top. Scott Berry is going to join us next in the Sports Lounge. You're in the Sports Lounge alongside TV's own Ray Coleman. I'm John Wiener, and happy to welcome in the lounge right now Southern Miss head baseball coach Scott Berry. Coach, thanks for joining us tonight. How you doing?
Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, Scott, so you guys, you win the CUSA Championship tournament for the third time in 4 seasons. Congratulations to you. But you go into that tournament, you guys were, having a really good season most of the way through and then hit a little bit of a slide at the end. And from the outside looking in, it was apparent that, hey, you guys had to win the CUSA tournament to get that NCAA berth. How did that impact the mindset of the team at all going into the tournament, knowing that you had to win it?
Well, it was a disappointing finish there in the regular season, honestly. We lost three of the last 3 series. And, we were in first place, tied with Florida Atlantic going in even to the last series and didn't play well enough, just to share that crown with them. So, basically the mindset from that point on is we start a new season, we turn the hourglass over, we have a chance to continue on. If we win this tournament. And, really going into the conference tournament, I felt like that we would have to win it. But as I kind of started comparing 09's team, which we went to Omaha with, the RPIs were very similar. And, we got to the championship game in 09 only to get beat by Rice, I think 7-5, but we got in as an at-large. So I knew at that point that we needed to really get deep into that tournament, probably to the championship game to even be considered, but with no guarantee. So, our guys, they answered the call because, it's not easy to go in there and win a conference tournament, especially when you have to do it to get in and secure that automatic bid. But hats off to our guys. They were resilient, and they played some of their best ball of the year for those 4 games.
Coach, 3 out of 4 conference tournament titles in those last 4 years, right? The sustained success that Southern Miss has put together, there aren't a lot of programs out there that are putting together continuous appearances in the NCAA College World Series tournament. What does this say about your program, that the level that it's at right now, sir?
Well, I'll tell you, and I think programs are judged on consistency. There's a lot of programs that they get hot one year and then you don't hear from them for a while, but I think the true mark of a really solid program is consistency, what they do year in and year out. And that's been our message from day one. There's a tradition at our program that started way back, And it's up to us to uphold that tradition and do the things that it takes to keep our program where the expectations are by everybody in Southern Miss and the fans of Southern Mississippi.
Coach, you guys in that Conference USA tournament, and then we'll move forward and look at the regional. But you threw a team no-hitter. Shepherd threw such great ball in that game. How special was that for you to sort of witness it and be a part of it, to have that kind of pitching performance from your staff?
Well, and what made it so special was a true freshman, Gabe Shepherd, who had Tommy John last year, surgery, which cut his senior year short in high school. He's a guy that we've been bringing along. Even in the fall there towards the end, we let him start throwing live to hitters. And then in the course of the spring, we started him in some Sunday games just to try to get him a routine. We felt it was important to start him so that he was properly warmed up, knowing that he was only going to go one or two innings at the most. But we're trying to plan for later on in the season so that maybe he could help us down the stretch. And obviously the plan really worked. That young man went out through 7 1/3 innings of no-hit ball against Rice in day 3, turned it over to junior right-handed pitcher Cody Carroll, who got 2 outs there in the 8th, and then handed it over to junior pitcher Hunter Stanley, who got 3 outs in the 9th and preserved the staff no-hitter. So, real proud. It was fun to watch. Anytime you can see a no-hitter, if it's not against you, it is a great time. So. But very proud of our pitching staff. And then to back it up against Florida Atlantic in the conference title game, Florida Atlantic hadn't been shut out in 118 games. And for us to go out there against what I feel like was the best offensive approach team we played all year, and shut them out was truly phenomenal by our guys.
So as you go into the Baton Rouge Regional, Coach, your guys have a different vibe now, I would assume, after winning the whole thing and kind of, turn that hourglass over, like you said. Are you playing with house money? Do you feel like your guys are loose right now and just letting everything flow?
Just going to try to stay out of their way, really. I think they have it figured out. They certainly did for those 4 games down there. This time of year, right now, everybody starts a new season. It doesn't matter what you've done up to this point, good or bad. Everybody is trying to vie to be one of the 8 teams in Omaha. And there's 64 out of us that are still less than, and out of 291 99 Division I baseball programs. So, our guys, I think they feel that confidence, that sense of urgency, and more importantly, the chemistry of 27 people playing for one thing, and that's the team.
And Scott, I've got to imagine, it's a tough challenge going to LSU and playing Alex Box, but I have to imagine it's an exciting one for your team to go tangle with LSU, and we know the connections between the fan bases there in South Mississippi. I have to imagine that it's going to be a pretty exciting place to play ball this weekend.
It is. LSU is a tough place to go in and win, but this time of year, all of them are. All those host sites are tough places. They have very passionate fan bases, which play into their success. And it's no stranger that LSU is one of the top programs and fan bases in the country. But we're excited for the opportunity to go down there 2.5 hours away. Our fans can travel. Last year we had to go to Fayetteville, which was a really neat place. I've never played there before. Yeah. But we didn't get the fan base that we would like to have. And I know that if tickets are available, certainly the Black and Gold will show up there in Baton Rouge.
It's certainly going to be an exciting atmosphere. We can't wait to see it. Scott Berry with us here in the Sports Lounge. Coach, appreciate you joining us. Congratulations on yet another Conference USA title and NCAA berth, and best of luck this weekend.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Scott.
Thanks, Coach.
Scott Berry with us in the Sports Lounge. And Ray, it's always great to have, a quality coach who you and I know fairly well with Scott Berry. But, we talked about, there were 3 or 4, before they got on this run, Scott Berry had been there for a while. And a lot of people said, look, his job's in trouble. Like, this is a program that can win consistently. But we said at the time, and you're seeing now, you're not going to find a lot better coaches than Scott Berry, and the patience paid off.
38 wins per year, man. Yeah. I think if you say, I want a coach that can give me 38 wins a year, will you sign up for that? Absolutely, right? What Scott Berry has done at Southern Miss, he doesn't have that notoriety, that house brand name like SEC. ACC, you know what I mean? He plays in Conference USA, but consistently his baseball program is amongst the best. It's proven because he's always in a regional, maybe in a super regional, and he's one of the few teams that can truly say we've made it around to Omaha within the last decade. You can't build a better case than that for being an awesome coach.
Well, you and I were talking, they say, winners win down there at Southern Miss. That's what happens in the sports lounge. So we got Game Time coming up next. I got off the schneid last week. It was a big W. We got a classic. We're heading to the seas.
Yeah.
Coming up next in the sports lounge.
You are in the Sports Lounge. Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media and share, like, and follow the show to enter to win a one-night stay for two at WaterView.
Game Time in the Sports Lounge. This is where winners win. And last week, the winner was my guy John Wiener. Got on the W side of things instead of taking L's every week. And we got a oldie but a goodie. I'm here for you today. Battleship.
Yeah.
Battleship. I've never played Battleship, but this is before my time even.
Well, I hadn't played Battleship in a long time. We got the retro version of
The
Battleship.
original.
Anything goes in the sports line. We've done everything from rocks, paper, scissors to NBA Jam. We brought a damn beer pong in the sports lounge. Beer pong, skee ball. I mean, the fun continues this week with Battleship. So here we go. It's real simple. We're going to play an abbreviated version about Battleship. I mean, your loss will be pretty abbreviated anyways. Like 4 ships or 1, like you'll go down quick. But so we got to take one battleship. You know the drill. You call it out. You put the pin in. If it hits, if not, we got one battleship. At the end, the loser, obviously, you sunk my battleship. That'll be your line. So you better go ahead and rehearse
Practice
it and have it in your head.
You're talking a lot of
I
trash
told you last
right
week we weren't gonna lose again. So here we go.
Dan Mullen in the house.
They never won after that. It's funny. I was thinking like I'm a maritime savant, and like all of the famous captains that I was thinking, all of their ships crashed. I was thinking
But it's going down with the ship.
I was saying I'm Ahab out here. Like Ahab ended up tied to a whale. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes. All right, go ahead.
I get to go first?
No, I get to go first because I had the legend chain and the whole deal last night, man. Last week.
After you, sir.
All right, I'm gonna go with D5.
D5. No, sir.
That's tough. I was ready to start with a red right
No,
off.
sir. I know you were. That's called overconfidence. That's what it is. That's called overconfidence. All right, how about this? Can we do F3? Come on, I know you there.
Man, you cheated, man.
I know you
must
there.
have looked at my battleship before we had.
I know you there. I know your
Is there like a
tendencies.
mirror behind
Not
me
a
or
mirror.
something?
It's not a mirror.
I just know to see y'all tried to cheat earlier and
I'm
gave
in
you
your
a
head, man.
battleship.
Come on, man. I'm in your head.
All right, B2.
No, sir. No, sir. But how about this? While we at it, how about F2? Yeah, of course you are.
Yeah.
Of course you are
Yeah,
there.
that's a hit.
Of course you are there.
That's a hit. It's getting dire quick here.
Of course you were there.
My ship is
Come on,
taking
man.
on water. It's like the iceberg has already been
on,
hit.
but it's early.
The damn band is
But
on
it's
the
early.
chair.
But
Like
it's
Jack
early.
and Rose are chapped down there.
You
like,
ain't
trying
going
to get out
diagonal,
of
so
the
let's see
water.
what you got.
No, man. Let me go with G6.
G6. No.
I haven't even hit the ship yet, man. We're just throwing
All right,
forks
so
and stuff.
let me see. Depending on what you're working with, F1.
Nah, you missed that.
Okay,
one.
all right.
Yeah, you missed
I'd
that
already
one.
had my red in my hand
You
too. I was
missed
ready.
that one,
I was
man.
ready. Okay.
Man, can I get a big gun where I can shoot 4 or 5 at a time?
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
Blow up the ship. F8.
F8. Okay, you're on the board. You're on the board now.
At least one of mine fired.
right.
It was misfired until then.
F8. F8. F4. Yeah, you in there. Come on now. And you.
Ray,
Come on.
you sunk my
Come
battleship.
on, man. I'm back in the winner's circle.
That wasn't even close,
It's
man.
so easy. Hey, if it makes you feel better, you had one more too. That was the
my two.
smallest ship that I had.
Yeah,
so.
but you came out firing. It was just
saying, man.
it was just torpedoes to the hull. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Give me that chain,
Oh,
man.
that was a maritime savant.
The Sports Lounge is brought to you by the Sportsbook at WaterView Casino in Vicksburg, giving you the edge in sports betting. You're back in the Sports Lounge, and we just wrapped up Game Time, and John taking another L. I believe the quote was, never going to lose again.
That's what he
But
said.
for some reason, the legend chain is on Ray's chest, and it was a good game of Battleship.
It was.
Made it close in the end. He did hit that last ship, but in the end, he did sink all the way down to the bottom of the ocean.
I got a new saying for you this week. It's not, in fact, whether you win or lose, but how you play the game, right?
That's got to be the most participation trophy response of all time.
You know when I'm going there with that accent, I got nothing left.
My quote stays the same, man. Winners win. Yeah. So, point blank, period.
We're coming back next week. Speaking of next week, we're you know what I mean? We got to change the philosophy. Stick to the process, like best man win, do my best, like all that. But speaking of next week, we got Gamewell time.
So we're going to seal his fate early. Let's see what he got. Pop a shot.
Back to the original.
Back to
the first game we played here.
Just for the record, the last time we played Pop a shot, you only lost by a point, man. So does that give you any kind of, feel good?
Well, I'm going to schedule some practice sessions here in the lounge, see if we can't get the court late night a couple weeks. Josh Juice has been advocating for that. In fact, Josh said he would come in here and be the practice squad for me, you know what I mean? Play the different teams. So maybe we'll have to get some Pop-A-Shot practice sessions. But always fun in the game time and always fun in Sports Lounge. Reminder, we want everyone to share, like the show, obviously bring people in, but comment on the show on Facebook. Give us a comment on Twitter. Give us a reply on Instagram. Of course, give us a comment, and the best comment every week, that's how you're going to win our one-night stay for two at WaterView Casino. Talk about winners win. That's a big one.
Oh, no question, man. It's always a good time. Listen, I'm just now starting to get in the gambling world myself, and so what a place to be to hang out at WaterView, put a couple of dollars down with some expertise from my buddies around me in the sports lounge to tell me what I need to pick, who I need to pick, and what I need to pick.
Well, let's close out with some parting shots here. Got to take some shots on your way out the door in the lounge, and it's a great new segment that we have every week. Chance to really, get something off your chest, deliver a big shout out, whatever it may be. It's your final shot, Ray. So your parting shot.
I want to focus on Bart Starr again, man. Okay. I made the comment earlier that you can tell a true legend when other legends get quiet and listen. When you think about the Jim Browns, right? In Bart Starr's case, when you see him hang around Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, or when you hear guys like Tom Brady talk about him, they get silent and they would listen to Mr. Starr when he was around, right? The things that he did for the quarterback position, guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, they should thank him because he was the first true superstar quarterback. He was the guy that made that transition from the quarterback being the guy to just hand the ball off to the quarterback is the guy that's going to lead us to victory. You can think about the Ice Bowl when he crushed my Cowboys way before I was a Cowboys fan, before I was even thought of. Bart Starr transitioned that position to being just a position to being the position. So again, with Bart Starr's passing, he may have forgotten things that he did in his prime as a player because he lost his memory, but nobody should ever forget his contribution to the game.
My parting shot, I'm sticking with the NFL. As we know, under 100 days now until the season starts. So my parting shot is actually about the NFLPA, which just sent out a release this week to players, warning them to account in their budgets for the possibility of a work stoppage in 2021. So if you're an NFL fan like me, this is something you want to pay attention to. Obviously, the collective bargaining is going to be a big thing at the end of the 2020 season. And so obviously you need to pay attention to this because nobody wants to see the NFL stop.
Quick shout out from my parting shot. Quick shout out to Steven Thompson, our guy Beastman Steve on Twitter, big supporter of the program. Went out on a fishing day on the fishing boat with his Bash Brothers lid on, brand new hot gear, and caught a whole mess of fish. He posted it everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, and you only get big fish with Bash Brothers. So big shout out to Steven Thompson. But I want to close though and talk a little bit as Ray did about a past sports big name, because I think when you talk about Bill Buckner, you don't necessarily use the word legend and icon like we talk about with Bart Starr. And I think legacy is an important question with Bill Buckner. Passes away tragically, under the age of 70. And Bill Buckner is remembered mostly for one thing in the narrative of American sports history and certainly baseball: his error, his blunder, the ball going through his legs in the 1986 World Series that Boston eventually lost. Bill Buckner, it's the only thing that he's known for, and his name sort of sadly, tragically, became synonymous with sort of failure and blunder and big choke in baseball. And we're hearing all of this, come out respectfully so and admirably so to say Bill Buckner should be remembered for a lot more. He had 2,600 hits, etc., one of the better hitters to ever play the game. All that is true and should be commended about Buckner, but I think his life and the narrative of his career is as good of a reality as any in life and in sports, that you are judged a lot of times in your whole life and your whole career by a couple of decisions and one or two big moments. It may not be fair. It may not be the whole picture, but in fact, that's the reality today now more than ever. And it's sad with Buckner that that's how he is remembered, but it is a sobering reality in so many ways, that whether it's tough life choices or what you do on the baseball field, or in football or any sport. In fact, how we are remembered in this life, and certainly in sports, is not always the totality of everything. It is one or two big moments that will define your life. So the bigger the decision, the bigger the moment, the more important it is and how you will be remembered by it. So I think it's an interesting conversation as you talk about the narrative, around Bill Buckner, but certainly like Bart Starr, a tragic passing that, we certainly honor and remember, but certainly two very different sides to, the conversation about somebody's legacy. So we'll end things on a lighter note here in the Sports Lounge, and I see Hack and Hank nodding his head back there. But it's always been a fun show. Always good to talk with you, man. Ray Coleman, even with that legend chain on.
And it's always good to get back on the winning track, man. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I was a little worried because I had never played Battleship before, but again, the juices flow. The winning genes show. Yeah. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, winners win, man. But awesome conversation with Scott Berry, man.
Speaking of winners win.
You know what I mean? Just as they get ready to take on, the LSU,
whole regional in LSU.
The LSU regional over at Alex Box Stadium. They'll have a bunch of Southern Miss fans there. That's not a hard trip to make for the black and gold. So looking forward to seeing what my guys will do.
Yeah, big thanks getting Scott Berry in the lounge. It's always fun. I had Gary Green a couple weeks ago. We bring in all kinds of guests, but great to get the players and coaches in the league as well. And speaking of, be on the lookout for a lot of really cool stuff from Bash Brothers coming this weekend. We got a feature on Shay Hodge, the Ole Miss great, taking over at Hillcrest Christian. I'm going to all three regionals, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern Miss in the span of 2 days. So we'll have some fun stuff on that as well. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and on Facebook and all of our other social media accounts. Ray Coleman,
my man.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Hack and Hank, our director. Josh the Juice, audio. And ISO Joe, always on the ISO cam. Y'all make it a good one. Join us next week in the Sports Lounge.